Today I have for you guys a lost Dragon Ball relic. This is the Ark of the Covenant for Dragon Ball fans. This needs to go into your Dragon Ball vault for safekeeping. This is Akira Toriyama's lost interview.
Prepare yourself, Dan Saiyan.
So I gotta give a huge shout out to the person that went through the painstaking process of translating this interview from German to English while also adding different inflections and making it as impossibly faithful to Akira Toriyama's other interviews. This man is Derek Padula, who received a picture of this interview from the magazine that it was posted on back in 2004 and translated it from German to English. Now I'm going to have a link to his Twitter in the description below. Go ahead and follow him there. Also, I have his website, The Tao of Dragon Ball, where the interview takes place, so make sure you go ahead and check that out to check out the entire full interview. So this Dragon Ball relic has been collecting dust for about 15 years, and now we can bring it to everybody around the world. This was a closed Dragon Ball event in Leipzig, Germany, the Leipzig Book Fair. There was crowds coming in and it was highly secure. There was so much security there that if anybody even pulled out a phone and took a picture of Akira Toriyama, then the whole event would be scrapped. Now, fortunately, somebody actually did take a picture of Akira Toriyama without anybody noticing, and we get to see Akira Toriyama in 2004 wearing a red tracksuit, and now we can see and know for ourselves why Akira Toriyama loves tracksuits for his Dragon Ball characters. So it's a real shame that Akira Toriyama doesn't seem to do these things anymore, because this was the Dragon Ball event of Dragon Ball events. Not only was it a question and answer and a meet and greet for Akira Toriyama with his fans, but it was also Akira Toriyama giving a drawing lesson to the audience. The 200 people or so that participated in this event got a copy of one of Akira Toriyama's most prized possessions, his unique drawing for the event. Every guest got one, and it was signed by Akira Toriyama himself. And as you guys can see, it's got characters from his top mangas, and that is of course Dragon Ball, Neko Majin, and Sandland. And the last they checked on this in 2015, these pieces of artwork were going for $16,000, almost $17,000 a pop. So this is an exclusive item. If this interview is a relic, this is the holy grail of Dragon Ball collectibles. It's also really crazy to note that each of these pieces of artwork were individualized and created for specific people, because they actually had Akira Toriyama write the person's name on this piece of artwork. So let's jump right into the interview. Now, Banzai, which is the magazine that was doing the interview, asked Toriyama, "Toriyama-sensei, you are now well known all over the world. What does that feel like, and how do you personally handle having so much excitement over you as a person?" Toriyama responds, "I'm happy that my work is famous, but personally I am a very shy and would prefer to not be famous. That's why I don't publish any photos of myself, so that nobody will recognize me and I'll live a quiet, normal life." Now, this was back in 2004, and there have been plenty of photos since then and even before then. So a lot of people know what Akira Toriyama looks like, and even in this highly secure interview, somebody managed to grab a snapshot of him for safekeeping. Now, this one is extremely interesting. At what age did you start drawing manga? And he says he was 21 years old when he first started. Now, he has been drawing manga since he was a kid, or at least art since he was a kid, but he started actually drawing manga at 21 years old. So for those of you who are getting into art and getting into drawing your own mangas late in life, like anything past 20, hey, look, the master actually has been doing this around that same time, and he created Dragon Ball. So this was very inspirational, and I'm so glad that this question was asked, because as an aspiring amateur artist like myself, I would like to think that at some point that I can make my own stuff, even though I'm, closing in on 30. So yeah, I am really happy that this question was asked. So I would imagine that Toriyama's parents didn't want him to become a manga creator, so he actually says that to sneak himself into just doing art and being able to do his passion, he actually basically kind of tricked his parents and jumped into advertising. That way he can still continue doing art while looking like he's got like a normal 9-to-5 job, which I think is really interesting because the fact that a lot of people think that they have to choose one or the other. They have to choose their passion or they have to choose having a job or a normal job, everyday job. Well, you can do both of them. You can do all of it. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And Toriyama tells you right here, you can find a way, you can find a way. Bonsai asks, how do you come up with your ideas? Do you have a special trick? And I gotta say, oh boy, before I read the response, I was on the edge of my seat because I wanted to know exactly how he creates his stories and how he creates his characters. There's gotta be some sort of trick to it. So Toriyama responds, getting ideas is difficult, which everybody knows. You have to open your sketchbook and go through different concepts. Since I am not an ordinary guy, I try to avoid simple stories. The right combination of firmly planned ideas and spontaneous ideas that come to mind is very important. So basically, what he's saying is have a structure, a sort of methodical process that you're going through to make your story and make it coherent, but make sure you're always open to spontaneousness and adding different elements in the story that weren't there before. Don't stay so rigid is kind of what I'm thinking that he's saying, but it isn't really a trick. It's just something that I guess in storytelling you sort of know, but it is nice to see that he actually has a method that he uses, and it's something that, in my opinion, works very well. So for those of you guys who are really getting into and want to get into making your own manga and comics, they actually ask him a very fascinating question about the inner workings of working with a publisher. So how does a collaboration between you, the publisher, and the editor work? Toriyama responds, normally the relationship between an author and their editorial staff should work so that if something is not quite right, the editor will discover that mistake and then steer the work in the right direction. So basically just kind of doing spell check, if that's a metaphor. My editor Torishima had many good ideas which I often implemented. However, there were some that I did not like. I'd say that's a good idea to make him happy, but then I'd kill the idea behind his back. I have picked up on his brilliant ideas and gradually added them to my work. I think he didn't make it easy for me because I didn't always listen to him. So it seemed like this guy, Torishima, gave him some ideas, and it seems like the majority of the ideas Toriyama just kind of threw away, even though he said that's a good job, and probably he should have been more upfront with this guy and told him like, no, I don't like that idea. So it seems like when the story kind of went through, Torishima realized none of his ideas were in there, and he was like, all right, well, you know, I'm kind of upset. And that's kind of, I think that's what he's talking about. But it seemed like there were also some really good ideas. I think the moral of this story is to be upfront with somebody and make sure you are real with them, and don't beat around the bush. Don't think that you're going to hurt their feelings, because you guys know facts don't care about your feelings. So yeah, this is your job on the line, and make sure you're stern with somebody, but don't be a dick about it. Bonsai asks, which of your works did you have the most fun drawing? Toriyama responds, definitely Nekomajin. It's a fun look at my most famous story with Dragon Ball. In Japan, there are so many parodies that I thought it's time to draw one of myself, my official Dragon Ball parody, so to speak. So I haven't read Nekomajin yet, and I probably should. It seems like this is a parody of Dragon Ball, and I'm fine with that. I think that parodies definitely have their place, and they're a lot of fun, and some of them even just sprout new lives of their own, such as like the Venture Brothers. But I definitely like the fact that he went more with a lighthearted story, and he said that he liked drawing this over Dragon Ball, which this sort of is kind of like Dragon Ball, but like a more goofier take. And it seems like he drew several Nekomajin stories because the publisher actually liked them, so he was able to draw more adventures and actually do something that he loved. Bonsai asked if his children have any drawing talent or if he would like them to become manga artists, and he responds with the fact that they do have talent, but he doesn't know if they want to become manga artists. Which I like the fact that he's not pushing them or shoving them into a life that they did not choose for themselves. I mean, if they want it, they want it. If they don't, they don't. You're gonna have to let your children choose for themselves and only steer them in the right direction. If you had to give a tip to junior illustrators, what would you say? Toriyama gives us some knowledge. Of course, it makes sense in the beginning to copy Japanese manga, but the German manga artists should develop their own style and incorporate country-specific elements. As time goes on, German readers will prefer the German manga over the Japanese, basically saying that if you make your comic book from your own country or your own area, you should probably incorporate elements from there, and then the home audience will like that more than things they don't really understand wholly. So I definitely like this. I think that it definitely gives some great vibes to some of the comic books that we've seen come out, the ones that are inspired by anime but they're not really anime. They're basically like a fusion of the two, but they have a lot of American elements. And of course, he's talking to a German audience right here, so he says German manga artist. But I definitely like this little tidbit, and it's very inspirational. The last question we're going to cover today is, what are your future plans? Now remember, this is back in 2004, so Toriyama responds, honestly, manga drawing has exhausted me both physically and mentally over the past year. I've been more focused on graphic design lately, but I eventually want to draw a super manga. Okay, so even back in 2004, did he know that he was going to make a Dragon Ball sequel? I'm not exactly sure what super manga means. Maybe somebody can explain that to me, but to me it sounds like he was thinking about Dragon Ball Super, but it could be something else. But if he was thinking about making a sequel to Dragon Ball back in 2004, this is huge news, although again I might be getting the translation wrong a little bit, or a little bit misinterpreted. So let me know in the comments below about that. This is going to be the end of this lost Dragon Ball relic. Again, huge shout out to Derek Padula for going through the painstaking process of making this work and bringing it to us here in the States. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate everything that you do. Make sure you drop him a follow. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Akira Toriyama's Lost interview. This is going to be BlackScape signing off. Take care, guys.